So this will be back-to-back two non-veterinary background presentations to a veterinary crowd. So, but I hope we'll be able to keep it interesting, and then what is awaiting us all outside, so that should all keep the tempo going. So, me and Harshita, I think we'll be discussing about more simpler concepts for the industry, and then primarily I'll start with the technology, and then Harshita will talk a bit about what we are doing with the industry in this domain. So basically, we'll be discussing about the advantages in the field of quality assessment of poultry raw materials as well as finished products with the NIR spectroscopic technique. So ensuring fair payments to your suppliers, minimizing reworks and process loads in the plant, then meeting end user specifications, complying with government regulations, and then of course ensuring the quality of your brand. So to achieve this, there is a wide diversity present in the industry as on date, and then depending on the volume which the industries are catering to, and then the capacities, people opt for different type of laboratory setups. So starting from a very basic kind of a glassware setup, which will have glassware assemblies for the most common tests like protein, fat, fiber, ash, moisture, to more advanced or semi-automatic kind of instruments, which will do the same test in a much quicker time with a much greater efficiency and a higher throughput. And then there are the advanced technologies like the NIR. So NIR, for the unversed, is the near infrared spectrometry, which is one of the latest technologies in the field of raw material and finished feed analysis, which is non-destructive kind of faster analysis technique. So these are the different kind of setups we have, and then depending on the requirements on the ground, the owners would want to select one of them. And then the topic of discussion today would be this NIR, wherein Foss specializes in. And then why NIR? So because there are certain challenges with respect to the wet chemistry methods, which have been the traditional methods used in the industry, and some of the key challenges are the use of harmful chemicals, because there are a lot of harmful chemicals which have to be used in the chemical analysis. So procurement of those chemicals, usage by operators, as well as disposal is becoming a concern. Then you need very skilled operators to be able to kind of do the analysis, and then to get the kind of accuracy which is desired. And then you need more manpower in the lab, because the throughput is very low, the test times are very long. So if you have the raw material today, you get the report by tomorrow. By that time, the material that you procured has already been processed. So that is another challenge. And then the lab space. So the footprint of the traditional technologies is much higher, which is what forces people to think of alternative remedies in analysis. And then that is the solution, the NIR analyzer, and the benefits it offers is, it is a fast system. It can do the analysis in just a minute or less. It can analyze multiple parameters in the same instrument, so you don't need to do a separate test for moisture, protein, fat, fiber, even amino acids and advanced parameters. You get all in a single analysis in a single instrument. You get a broad range of applications. So right from your raw materials to process intermediaries to finished products, you can test everything in the same instrument. And then the results are accurate and repeatable as per the industry standards. It offers a digitally connected mode of analysis, and this is something which will help you integrate data if you have multiple sites, or integrate data with your suppliers, with your customers. Then it saves a lot of operator time, and it reduces the use of chemicals, and it's easy to operate, so it reduces a lot of cost on the lab front. So overall, it is something which offers a very quick return on investment. And then coming to the scope or utility of NIR, you can do a range of applications. So you can test, coming to the raw materials, you can test all kind of vegetal ingredients, any vegetal byproducts, all cereals, grains, like your meals, veg protein meals, then your animal protein meals like meat and bone meal, your fish and fish meals, meat products, then any other food ingredients or processed foods, and then the finished animal feeds, as well as different slurries like molasses or any of the intermediary compounds. So everything can be tested with the NIR, and then you test a range of parameters in a single test like protein, moisture, fat, fiber, ash, starch, free fatty acids, amino acid profiling, energy, and then many more. So the scope of NIR is like not limited because it's a spectroscopic method based on the development of calibration libraries against the reference method. So you can always have the scope of increasing the applications on the NIR. And then just for the unversed, like a brief introduction of, I'll not go into the details of the technology, but just to tell how the technology works, if like people who have not heard or used NIR. So this is an optical technology which is using the near infrared range of the wavelengths, and then the sample is exposed to these wavelengths in the instrument, and the instrument returns a spectral curve. Because like all the bonds of organic nature, especially the CH, NH, OH bonds present in our like meals or raw materials or finished feeds, they will have specific peaks. For example, moisture will have a peak at around 1400 nanometers, protein will have a peak at some other wavelength. So similarly, each of the components will have their respective peaks, and then the NIR will return with a kind of a spectral response to the sample. And then this spectral response, using the optics of the instrument and then using the chemometry, is converted into a percentage value or the layman response, wherein we get the composition of the sample. So this is the typical hardware. Like you have a NIR lamp which has a slit, and the light passes onto a grating. So this grating divides the light into individual wavelengths, and the sample is exposed to these wavelengths one by one. So it measures the response to each wavelength, and then the overall thing is clubbed in the form of a spectral response, which we saw. So this is a typical NIR spectra, and these are the peaks, like for moisture, for protein, for starch, for fiber. So we get similar peak responses, and then this is clubbed with the chemometry to give you the result. And then how good is the NIR? Because one major point of contention and discussion always is like, this being an empirical method, how can we trust it and how can it replace the lab methods? So it is not there to replace the lab methods. The purpose of NIR is to kind of improve the overall efficiency of the process, to increase your capability of testing at the moment, because when you are procuring raw material, the second decimal accuracy is not something which is important. What is important, that whether your load is meeting your specifications or not, or whether it is meeting your thresholds for claim or not. So that is what the NIR is for, and that is something which it is good for. It's an empirical method. It needs to be trained to recognize different parameters and concentrations. So we analyze set of samples with the reference and the NIR. We develop the calibration with the softwares, and then like this calibration is fed into the instrument to recognize unknown concentrations in samples. And then like what is the calibration? So not going into the details, it's simply like a multiple linear regression which defines a relationship between the spectral response or the absorbance of the sample to the reference value, which has been obtained by the reference method. So that is how we develop a calibration, and then any unknown sample which is presented, it develops a spectral response, and then putting the values in the equation, you get a corresponding result. And then now the biggest question is like, who develops the calibration? Because this is something which is a tedious job, and there is that is where the Foss experience comes into place, because NIR companies, they have their own methodologies and database of developing these calibrations, and this has been developed over decades. So it's not something which has been done in 1 or 2 days. So that is there. And then there are a lot of feed additive companies which are providing like NIR services. So all the major feed additive suppliers, they have their NIR services. Most of them have it on Foss instruments, and then they offer this as a service to their poultry customers. And then there are third-party organizations and labs and institutes, organizations like Aggregate, who have NIR instruments and who are developing NIR calibrations. And then there are customers who develop their own calibrations also. So this is something which is not very difficult, and then it is something like which can be put to use easily. So one thing which I always try to highlight to any audience where I speak is like, NIR is not a quality control instrument. So one basic thing which is there in the industry is that we see like analytical tools as like only a quality testing instruments. It's basically more than that, and it is more of an economic tool. So this is something which can help industries in some form of savings and returns on their investment. How so? Because like today we work in a very volatile conditions. So like we all know, because of extreme climatic conditions, extending droughts, rains, the raw material availability is a big concern, courtesy to like the global conditions. Now we have seen like there's been lot of issues with the raw material availability, and then the growing focus on the animal nutrition, and then the regulations and all coming in place makes it like the regulations are becoming tougher and tougher day by day. And then the globalization, integration, all these things are ultimately challenging the profitability of the feed mills. And this is somewhere like the NIR can offer help. And then through our discussions with industry professionals globally, we have identified 3 key areas where NIR technology can make a difference in the poultry operations. One is faster analysis. So one common point from the industry is that they need test methods which are faster, which can deliver quick results, so that they can help them take on the spot decisions, be it about raw material acceptance, be it about the in process changes. So they want results which can be quickly delivered. Then they want results which can be trusted. So they want results or methods which are accepted globally, which are accepted to their suppliers, which are accepted to their like vendors and customers. And then the smart data management. So we heard this a couple of times today, that like generation of data is not the only thing important today. It's also how you utilize that data, how you integrate that data with your other analysis, and how you take a holistic approach and then you use this data. So this is something which the NIR is made for. So this is something like kind of a smart analytic solution, which is always ready to offer faster results, which is delivering results that can be trusted, and which enables smart data management. So I'll just give some of the key examples and some areas wherein we can put the NIR to use. So of course, the first and the foremost important thing is like the optimization of raw material cost, because you can test on the spot before offloading the material. You have the results, so you decide whether to accept the material or not. You decide whether how to segregate that material, and then you decide what price to pay for that. And then like it makes you, because the analysis is so fast and it's like a very easy to use kind of a system, so it makes the overall process very efficient. And then you pay the right price. So this calculation may not be kind of applicable to everyone, so that is just for the purpose of reference. But then what is important is like, in general, at least 20 to 30% of your deliveries are not up to the specifications. And then if you do not have a like frequent testing mechanism available, then you are not able to claim like you are not able to set up a threshold for claim, and you are not able to claim for your payments. But then with the NIR, you exactly know each batch that is going inside, you know what is the composition, you know what you need to pay for that. Another area is the substitution of raw materials, because like being the volatility of raw material availability, so even if you are able to kind of reduce your raw material cost by 0.5%, that translates to lot of money for a big poultry mill. Then coming to the next point of results. So of course, like NIR is something like which has been there for quite long now. It's a well accepted and recognized technique in the industry. And this is proven that with the NIR, you can reduce your thresholds by like 0.5 to 1%. And if you calculate on that, that again translates to a lot of savings. So, and then the another area on saving comes from the cost on the external laboratory test, because there are many like industries which for the regulatory purpose or for their own use are only relying on the external laboratories. And then each sample, like if we see the cost which is being paid for the analysis, it's huge. And if you have an in-house solution, then I think the payback time is not more than like a year or so. Again, you save on the chemicals, so there's a lot of cost involved on the chemicals required in their disposal, and as well as on the what to say, the chemicals which you're using, and then the disposal of those chemicals. So all those costs can again be like saved, and then the cost, like hidden cost like electricity. So for a simple fat analysis using a oxalate, the power consumption per hour will be like 3 to 4 units. So if you calculate on a like 24 hour running mill, so those costs are like huge. So all those savings can be achieved with the NIR. And then again, like just to summarize, like all these things can be done with just a single analysis within less than a minute. So this is something like which offers a great value to the poultry industry. And then like this is coupled with the smart data management, because the NIRs today are like not just analysis tools, they are having with coming with like remote support as well as connectivity features. So like these are something like especially for like factories with multiple sites, so they can have all the fleet connected, they can have master instruments, they can control from any remote location what the lab result is coming from each factory. They can integrate with their customers, with their vendors and all, and that is the way how like companies like CP or Cargill and these people do. And then like there is seamless data transfer, so whatever analysis results you are producing, you can kind of access it from anywhere, you can integrate it to your other lab analysis systems, you can kind of integrate it to third party vendors. So all those connectivity features are now coming with the NIR, so that makes the analysis lot more easier and then lot more meaningful with the integration. So that was basic about what is NIR and then how it can be put to use for the poultry industry. So now I'll request Harshita to just also explain that how NIR has come up all these years, and then what role FOSS has to play when like introducing the NIR to the poultry industry. Over to you, Harshita.
Thank you, Himanshu. So when we understand about NIR, it is very important to know that this technology is one of the most reserved technologies of the world. I mean, it is a technology that requires continuous improvement. It is a technology that requires continuous updation, and it will also help you deliver the best results. So now, why FOSS comes up with NIR, and why you should, consider FOSS when you're looking for NIR solutions. So we come with 60 plus years of innovation experience. We always strive to be the first, which is one of our values in the advent of innovation in industry. So we have a long legacy with the spectroscopy. And then more than 10% of our turnover is invested back into R&D, so that each and every time we can come up with better solutions for, especially for the feed industry. We are a trusted global brand with more than 250 installation base across the country. More than 60% of the feed market share is owned, in NIR is owned by FOSS. We are a tightly woven network of technology partners, and we cater to not only poultry industry, but the industry, feed and forage industry on the whole. We are very customer driven, and of course we have one of the most advanced digital solutions. Our presence in India, we are spread across India, so whenever you find or whenever you have to recommend NIR to someone, or you want to know more about the NIR technology, you can just approach any one of us. Our website is up and alive 24/7 at your service. The channel partners, we are widely spread across the nation with the channel partners, and not only in India, we're also widespread in neighboring countries like Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal. So a little about the evolution of NIR. So initially when we had NIR as 5,000, this was during the advent of Industry Revolution 3. Wherein we were not as equipped as we are with technology now. So we moved on to NIRS XDS, which was again limited as compared to the number of parameters that we can take control of with today's NIRs. With DS 2500, there was a humongous change. It was a dynamic shift in the NIR industry, because now you could do multiple parameter analysis, and that too within a minute. And then today the NIR that has taken the industry as a whole is NIR DS3, which gives you the analysis within a minute. And there is plethora of parameters that you can test on NIR's DS3, and you can also develop your own calibrations. Also, this instrument is it is connected to the industry 4.0, so it has your data secure, so you don't have to worry about any of your data.
Sorry to interrupt you, Harshita. You have only 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. We have a huge installation base in India, so I'll just skip this. So the Foss partners, the additive feed industries that we closely work with are Adesio, Nutrico, Evonik, Cargill, Hybiztv, ADM, and DSM. So, they are quite good promoters of Foss, and they've been using NIR and, promoting NIR in the feed industry. So we have, till today, we have been catering to a lot of people working in feed and forage industry. Not only feed and forage, we are also in grain milling and oils, and also in the ready-to-eat industry with the NIRs. A small video, I'll just show it to you from one of our customers who's a proud user of NIR in the feed industry.